It's the semi-finals of the Season 3 World Championship. A series is about to be played that will shape the future of League of Legends. Faker's road to become the greatest player of all time starts right here. But on the other side of the stage, a young AD carry named Prey is about to begin his own journey, a long career of always being a close second. Prey began his career over a decade ago in Season 2, playing for Najin's Sword. He was considered one of the best ADCs in Korea, with his aggressive lane-dominant style on champions like Ezreal and Twitch. During these early days of pro League of Legends, Prey accumulated quite a few high-place finishes, including winning the OGN Champions Winter in 2013 and making back-to-back World Championships in Season 2 and Season 3. But most lolesports fans know Prey from his iconic years on the Tigers. Whether it was on the GE and Q Tigers in 2015, or the Season 6 Rox Tigers, Prey was an integral part to their success, through his strong leadership and excellent AD carry play. For 7 years he exemplified what it meant to be a pro player. Professional, entertaining, and damn good at the game.
Person Shockwave onto Fly. Stand United comes in onto Fly himself as the Baron getting taken down relatively low. That's 5 versus 5 now. This battle's ridiculous as Faker's already taken down Crack, but Prey takes the Baron. That's going to be an extra kill as well onto Peanut. Wolf in trouble. Prey grabs himself his second. Huni gets arrowed to the face. The Nautilus taking a lot of damage and in goes Crash. Bang! Has to use the Arcane Shift to get himself out as well as the heal, and Huni's going to have to give himself up for dead, and that is a flat-out team fight that Longzhu win on SKT's turn.
He was, without a doubt, the gold standard for not just ADCs, but for what every pro player should strive to be. But for how good and popular he was, Prey's career is quite lackluster. If you just scrolled through his accolades, he wouldn't even be considered in the top 10 of players. Of course, he has 4 LCK championships and 5 Worlds appearances, but he has 0 international titles. It's easy to just write Prey off as a good player who didn't quite make his mark. But when you take a deep dive into his career, you realise he's actually someone very special. If Faker was the greatest and best player of the 2010s, then Prey was right up there with him. But what exactly do I mean by this? In Prey's 7 years as a pro, he played 6 high-stake matches against Faker's SKT, 3 of which were Korean domestic finals, and 3 were at the World Championship. And in all 3 of those Worlds matches, Prey pushed Faker and SKT further than anyone else. In 2015, Prey found himself in the World Finals, facing off against SKT, a team that was undefeated at the tournament and looked miles ahead of the competition. But Prey and the Q Tigers rallied the fan support and did what no one else could. They made SKT bleed.
Even though SKT has been there before, it's Marin's first Worlds as well. There is a moment of the spectacle. Here we go.
What a hit onto Faker. Eyes focused onto him. He's forced to flash over the wall, but it doesn't save him. Kuro gets the shot necessary. A double kill for the Kassadin, and this spells very bad things for SKT. The bottom inhibitor is already broken, feeding super minions into the base. This is going to be Marin going down as well as he's too far from home. Over the wall. Bang's going to go down now. The fly in. The lunge from Smeb. A few more hits. The parry is great. The thrust is better, and he goes down. Huge kills for Kuro. They're on the Nexus turret, and it looks like they could thwart the perfect record of SKT at Worlds. The first Nexus turret to go down, the ace of SKT in their own base, and the Ku Tigers will break the perfect record at Worlds for SKT.
Unfortunately, this single win was not enough. And I'm hoping that this video is enough to convince you to subscribe to the channel and maybe like and comment on this video. It's all really appreciated, so thank you and back to the video. And although they failed, Prey and the Tigers were nonetheless positive in their defeat. And this is a big reason Prey was and is so popular. Even the most painful of defeats wasn't enough to take that big smile off of his face. Prey inspired joy and hope when his fans were at their lowest, and it's not like there weren't going to be more chances. A year later, at the 2016 World Championship, the ROX Tigers found themselves up against SKT in the semi-finals. In their matches prior, SKT had always been the favourite, but this time was different. The fans and analysts were on the Tigers' side, and the recent success of their LCK title made us believe they could actually win. And God, did they try.
The shutdown is there, and Gorilla's now just putting bullets in a Duke. How much can they really get? Ooh, bullet time does a lot. It forces flash out, and now Prey is here. Exhaust is on. One kill picked up, and Faker gets it back on a Gorilla. Smeb running out of health and gets shut down as well. But Prey, does he find the targets? Peanut has Guardian Angel. Maybe he plays frontline. How much can they really get? Prey turns it back. Looks at bang. Looks for it all. He's got one. What else can he get? It's going to be Blake in his sights.
He's coming back.
Faker's low. How much more can they get? The stun's coming in, and it's Duke with the big play. But the turnaround from Prey, turning it back in. The chase, the resonating strike, and the ace goes through for Peanut.
These fights are out of control this game. ROX Tigers and Prey in particular, time and time again. When you think an AD carry might go back, Prey stays in and he comes out on top.
In a magnificent and iconic 5-game series, Prey demonstrated to the world just how close he was to being a world champion. Prey's Ashe in particular during this series is widely considered to be some of the best pro gameplay we've ever seen on the champion. Fans mostly remember his iconic game-winning cross-map Ashe arrow, but his team fighting was also insane. This Baron fight in particular is genuinely so well played by Prey. Instead of retreating with his team, he decides to stay in the Baron pit where he cuts off Bang & Wolf from chasing his teammates. When his team is ready for the re-engage, he pushes forward and dodges a crucial Zyra E, and then flashes Faker's Victor Laser before dealing massive damage to win the fight. Perhaps if the ROX Tigers won this series, there's a very strong argument that they win the entire tournament. And honestly, this line of logic could be applied to the very first time Prey and Faker met at Worlds. Going all the way back to that definitive 2013 semi-finals, if Naj and Blacksword had any edge over SKT, it was in their bot lane. Prey and Kane were arguably the best duo in the world, and if Najin was going to beat SKT, it was going to be through their ADC, and Prey did just that. Najin pushed SKT all the way to 5 games. For the first 15 minutes of Game 5, Naj and Sword were ahead, and Prey and Kane even 2v2'd SKT's bot lane. Everything was going their way. But SKT had Faker, who, as we all know, was hyped as the next best thing in 2013, and well, he proved it.
Here comes Expression. The question is, can they stop anything? The tower's been saved, no kill secured yet. Kane looking for the hook, not gonna connect. Faker still alive, now Nugne's in trouble.
He's got the shockwave still alive, and there is the shockwave coming down, but Faker so very low. Expression dies, Faker's still alive, Protect comes in, Kane trying to get the kill, Kane does get the kill.
Kane's in trouble, he manages to get the play down, True Shot Barrage throws across. Now Stand United has been used, Nugne re-engages, a massive shockwave, throws 3 of them together. The first victim is Watchers, the rest of Sword are on the retreat. They're trying to get out. Here comes Impact. He's on to Prey. Prey still alive as the counter-strike doesn't land. A good charm. Now Piglet's in trouble. He uses the arcane shift forward. He secured another kill as Nagne's on the retreat. Nagne gets out. He manages to pick up 1 before Piglet closes it out. Expression's still in trouble.
Still in trouble, and he's the last man up. And this one is Impact going to dive on top of him. There is the ace for SKT.
SKT beat Najin and qualified for their first of many Worlds finals. A finals which was a complete stomp. Given the disparity between China's Royal Club and SKT T1, I don't see how Najin would have lost to Royal Club, especially since Prey was arguably better than Piglet, and Piglet seemed to do just fine against Uzi. On 3 occasions, Prey lost to SKT and Faker at Worlds, and in all 3 of those, Faker was crowned the world champion. The fact is, Prey consistently offered the highest level of competition for both SKT and Faker, and if it weren't for SKT's ridiculous domination, Prey would honestly be, at a minimum, a 3-time world champion. It almost feels unfair and just bad luck that Prey was playing during the era of peak SKT, and it wasn't just at Worlds where Prey was slightly behind Faker. Domestically, Prey played 3 finals against SKT, losing twice and finally winning in 2017. Considering he was always right behind them and even won domestic titles during this time, I think it's safe to say Prey should be considered one of the greats. And it's not just because of his results. Prey was genuinely a phenomenal ADC, and in many aspects he was ahead of his time. Whilst we assume ADC should primarily be about maximizing damage, think players like Ruler, Viper and Uzi, Prey offered a different take. Of course he still did damage, but his unique playstyle and extremely versatile champion pool enabled his teams in so many other ways. If we look at all of Prey's teams, we find a common theme. His top sides are filled with high resource carry players. On Longzhu and Kingzone he played with Khan and BDD, who are perhaps the very definition of strong side solo laners. On the Tigers he famously played with Smeb, who was also a great weak side player, but the Tigers typically played through him. Even on Najin, Prey was playing with Maknoon, who is the original mechanical carry top laner. The point is, Prey was never the primary carry for his teams, which meant he was often playing on weak side with lower resources and attention. Despite this, he consistently won lane, or at the very least came out even. His teams could rely on him to hold his own, whether on safe picks like Ezreal and Sivir, or more aggro champions like Kalista and Lucian. Although he could play anything the meta demanded of him, including modern ADCs like Kai'Sa in 2018, Prey was the master of immobile long-range utility carries. Think champions like Jhin, Varus and Ashe. Champions that require expert positioning and awareness to maximize their damage. Prey's Ashe in particular was a cut above the rest. During the 2015 World Championship, Prey was the only ADC to realize how strong Ashe was, and as a result, he was the only player to have a win on the pick, with a 71% win rate over 7 games. He just understood this champion like no other, using her ultimate to make insane cross-map plays, zoning entire teams with her volley shots, and having a crazy engage sense with her arrow. And if you don't believe me, listen to what Prey's longtime support, Gorilla, had to say about his playstyle. I believe that Prey has a unique playstyle. Many people believe that the most important stat of a DPS role is damage dealt to champions. In reality, you need to look at the game at a broader angle. You need good game senses. In that aspect, Prey is an incredible player. The way he plays Ashe and Jhin proves this. Champions like these are extremely difficult to play if you lack game senses. Prey reminds me of another ADC, one that has won the World Championship 3 times, one that played with Faker for so many years. Prey is basically Gumayusi before Gumayusi. Now imagine if SKT T1 played with Prey all those years. They would have been the most dominant team ever. Anyway, I digress. This video has a lot of what ifs, but the reality of Prey's career is that he was always just a close second to Faker. No matter how good he was or how much he wanted to win, Prey was never able to catch up with his longtime rival. However, only one team can say they beat Faker in a domestic grand finals between 2013 and 2020, and Prey was on that team. And if you ask me, that's pretty incredible.